If you're still taking a baby aspirin every day to prevent heart attack, then you probably need to watch this video until the end. The guidelines about this have changed, and there's some new research out very recently that shows that you probably shouldn't be doing that. I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician. Let's talk about this. Now, back in 2010, the U.S. Preventative Task Force came out and said, hey, if you're over the age of 40, it's probably a good idea to take a baby aspirin, 81 milligrams of aspirin a day. This is going to inhibit platelet function, decrease your ability to make clots, and probably protect you from having a heart attack. Now, many doctors immediately had questions about this, me included, because we know that any pharmaceutical that you put into the human body, including something as innocuous and ubiquitous as 81 milligrams of aspirin, has hundreds, if not thousands of effects in your body. Pharmaceuticals don't just do one thing. And so when you take that baby aspirin every day, yes, you are inhibiting platelet function. They don't form clots as easily, but clots are actually important. They're good for you. If you cut your arm, you want to form a clot. So people notice that if I'm taking a baby aspirin every day, I actually bleed freer. And in most cases, like if you cut your arm, that's not a big deal. You just hold pressure a few minutes longer, it eventually clots and you're fine. But what about certain types of bleeding, like if you fall and hit your head really hard and you have a bleed inside your brain, inside your skull? These types of things you can't hold pressure on. What if you have an ulcer in your stomach? What if you have a varice in your esophagus? Multiple kinds of bleeding, you can't hold pressure on those. And so this becomes immediately a big deal in those particular situations. So the guidelines broke it up. And we actually had a new set of guidelines come out in 2022 that said that between the ages of 40 and 59 years of age, it should be an individualized decision between you and your doctor. The reason for this being that, yes, of course, taking a baby aspirin every day will decrease your risk of having a heart attack from the formation of a clot in a coronary artery, but it also increases your risk of lots of other things. Aspirin is very hard on your stomach. It makes you bleed everywhere, not just in the heart arteries. It decreases clot formation everywhere, which can be a problem in many situations. And so they went from saying that everyone over the age of 40 should take a baby aspirin every day to 40 to 59 years of age. It's an individual decision depending on how many risk factors you have for heart disease. And so the takeaway message for you, my friend, is that if you're under the age of 40, you absolutely are not going to benefit anyway from taking a baby aspirin every day. Don't do that. If you're from age 40 to 59, only if you have multiple risk factors for heart attack. Also, that you're not going to do anything about these risk factors. The vast majority of risk factors for heart attack come from what you eat and what you smoke. And so if you're like, yeah, I'm not going to quit smoking and I'm not going to quit eating junk, then you probably will benefit from taking a baby aspirin at least a few days a week if you're between the ages of 40 and 59. Now, the new guidelines are very clear that people over the age of 60 are not going to benefit from taking a baby aspirin at all for primary prevention of a heart attack. So we need to tease out what's primary prevention and what's secondary prevention. So you're taking an aspirin for primary prevention if you've never had a heart attack, you've never had a stent put in, and you've never had a coronary artery bypass. If you've had any of those things, then you're taking your baby aspirin for secondary prevention. You do not need to listen to me in this video. I'll make another video for you. This video is about primary prevention. You've never had a heart attack, you've never had a stent placed in a coronary artery, and you've never had a coronary artery bypassed. Then you're taking that aspirin for primary prevention. And the research, as it continues to come out, is very clear. And the Preventative Task Force changed their recommendations in 2022 that over the age of 60, you're not going to benefit from taking that baby aspirin at all. The risks of taking that baby aspirin outweigh the benefits of taking the baby aspirin the majority of the time if you're over the age of 60. So, what do you do with this? Well, if you're taking a baby aspirin currently just because you thought it was a good idea, stop that. Don't do that. Go and talk to your doctor and say, hey, do I need to be doing this or not? I know there's new guidelines, and that little subtle reminder will trigger your doctor to go, oh yeah, maybe I should look up the latest guidelines. But if you're from 40 to 59, you need to talk to your doctor. Even if your doctor has told you in the past you need to take a baby aspirin, do not take it for granted that recommendation still applies to you today, because the guidelines have changed. These guidelines your doctor may or may not be aware of, and you're asking your doctor could stimulate them to do a little reading and get up to date on the latest guidelines. If you're over the age of 60 and your doctor has told you to take a baby aspirin every day for primary prevention, then your doctor probably has no idea what the guidelines are. They just heard that you're supposed to take a baby aspirin on CNN or something, and they just decided to make that part of their medical practice. If you're over the age of 60, you almost assuredly do not need to take a baby aspirin every day for primary prevention of heart attack. Now, go talk to your doctor about this before you stop taking it, especially if your doctor recommended you start it. Your doctor may say, yes, I know what Dr. Berry means by this, but in your specific case, I still believe that the benefits outweigh the risks. And there may be a very few people who fall into that category. You may be one of those, but you won't know for sure unless you talk to your doctor. You may very well be taking a baby aspirin every day, and it's actually increasing your risk of other things more than it is preventing or lowering your risk of having a heart attack. There's a new study that just came out in 2023 in the Journal of the American Medical Association showing that the incidence of bleeding in the brain is higher in people taking a baby aspirin every day. And once again, they recommend if you're at any increased risk of bleeding at all, you don't need to be taking a baby aspirin every day. The risks outweigh the benefits. So I hope this video has helped you kind of understand this. I'm going to put links in the show notes to the latest guidelines and also to that study in the Journal of the American Medical Association about the brain bleeds, so that if your doctor says, look, I'm the doctor, I don't care what some YouTube doctor said, you keep taking your baby aspirin, you can actually print those studies out and take them to your doctor and say, look, I feel like I fall into this criteria. These guidelines say this. Are you sure I should keep taking that baby aspirin? And you may be thinking, well, it's just a baby aspirin. It's not a big deal. But a baby aspirin basically inhibits your platelets from forming clots for up to 14 days. And so I think for some people who the benefits may outweigh the risks, a tolerable compromise would be to say, hey, let's just take a baby aspirin 2 or 3 days a week. Let's not take it every day of the week. But be sure and go have a discussion with your doctor about this, because each case is in fact unique depending on how many risk factors you have, your age, and other comorbidities that you might have, and other medications that you might be taking. So talk to your doctor. I'll put the links down below. This is Dr. Berry. See you next time.